Hey, you're back with the Get Out Deck Guy show. I'm Steve Rhode. The old original balding, moss growing, rolling down a hill. I don't know. Get Out Deck Guy. And with me as always is Damon Day, the new Get Out Deck Guy. He smells like Irish spring. Remember those commercials?
Come on, Steve. Yeah, come on, Steve. You're a Rolling Stone. You don't get no moss.
Say hello, Damon.
Hello, Damon.
We're back again, and this week's idea topic, the thing that Damon and I have been chit-chatting about offline, is something that's really hitting me hard today, and that is my brain is so overwhelmed. I'm trying to manage 3 different things, 2 different businesses, writing posts. I'm behind on my true crime podcast. It should have come out yesterday, and I feel a lot of pressure and stress about getting shit done. I'm sure everybody can relate to that, but it really weighs on you. Now, if I added on to all of the stress and pressure and everything else that I feel right now, if I added on to that the fear and panic and shame of being in debt, oh my God, I'd have to go back to those days where, I mean, thank God we only had a few cable channels or a small number of cable channels and not all these streaming services, because back in 1989, when I was living through this misery, it was easy to pick the stupid, dumb infomercials I'd watch all night long when I couldn't sleep. I guess now it'd be TikTok.
Dude, I'm not as old as you, but I did the same. I got drawers of seminar tapes and all kinds of stuff that I bought trying to make more money.
Yeah, I mean, plus a lot of it was just distraction. Now, the funny thing was, I had the hardest time sleeping at night because I'd worry and panic and everything else. But damn, the minute the sun came up, I could go right to sleep.
Yeah, and I mean, everybody's different, because when I was going through my BS, and it was much, much later than when you were going through your BS. There was a 2 in front of the number, not a 1. I don't know. I have a weird ability to compartmentalize crap, where, and I'm not saying it's better. I'm just saying it's a weird ability to, and I'm sure other people are like this too, where it's compartmentalized, not in a good way, but in a way that's like, I'll deal with that later, right? Which is going to just make it worse when you get, again, hyperbolic discounting in action right here. I know it well. I may forget the word often, but I know it well. But that kind of stuff, when I was in debt, the debt and all that didn't keep me up at night. Like, that didn't cause me to lose sleep or anything like that. But every once in a while, when I'd really sit down and I would okay, I got to tackle this thing, that would stress me out when I'm in the moment, trying to figure this out. And then I would just get overwhelmed with it. Right. And then be later, I got other more important things to focus on right now. And that's what happened to me. For me, it wasn't a daily constant stressor. It was a blissful existence for a month or 2, and then a crash, holy shit, what am I going to do about this?
Felt like,
there's nothing I can do. I'm going to shut.
I always felt like a failure, not being able to take care of my family and disappointing my wife and letting my 3-year-old daughter down and all that stuff. But compartmentalizing is actually really good, because for those that don't know, in my life as a search and rescue pilot, I have had many in-flight emergencies. And if you just focus on the outcome, you will freak out and die. So the solution is always you deal with the next decision I have to make, and you solve it, and then you go to the next one and the next one, and you don't allow yourself to get panicked.
Well, I've flown with Steve, and I can tell you that the one trait that you do not want in any pilot is a panic type personality. You want calm, under control. I know we're rushing towards the ground, but I got this.
Yeah, I got it.
Chill. Yeah. You want that guy.
Well,
even if in his head he's like, this is bad.
My motto as a pilot is, you know what? There's no sense dying all tensed up.
Yeah.
But
And we're going to work on this all the way to the scene of the crash.
Well, the rule is fly the plane to the scene of the crash.
Yeah, you'll be the first one there.
Aviate, navigate, communicate. But this all brings up this kind of mental struggle that people have right now. And for people who are listening to us that are feeling that pressure, even if it's in waves, that stress and shame, you are not alone. We have been there. We have lived it. You don't need to listen to some personal finance guru to tell you how to budget your way out of a mess, because because what you need is to listen to what we're going to tell you on this podcast.
I thought you were going to say Jesus. That's the way you said that. What you need, y'all need Jesus.
Jesus, take the credit cards. Never heard that one before. But what you need is to listen and let what we're going to tell you on this podcast percolate so that we can help you deal with the current crisis, whatever the situation is, in a step-by-step, no panic way. Because the ultimate answer to what is going to happen if your finances crashed, it's all survivable. The only people that die from that financial crash are the people who we've talked about it on other podcasts, the people that kill themselves or jump off the balcony or, do other stupid. They do it to themselves. No collector comes to your house and hangs you. It's terrible, but that doesn't happen.
Yeah. I mean, it's not the UAE.
No. I think they've stopped throwing people in prison there, by the way.
Oh, yeah,
they got too crowded.
Have they stopped leaving the Bentleys at the airport then?
No. The long-term
it's still there?
Long-term parking at the airport is a nightmare because all the Bentleys are abandoned.
The rich people fleeing the country if they have debt, or even the not so rich people, they have debt. They got to get the hell out of there.
Yeah, I mean, I've told lots of people over the years that had gone to the UAE for work or whatever reason, and they'll contact me and, Steve, what should I do? I'm falling behind. I've lost my income. I don't know what to do. And my answer is always, get out of the country.
Yeah. Yeah. And then they come here and they're at a bar and they're listening to some American, go on and on about, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to file bankruptcy and my life's going to be over. And the guy goes, you get to file bankruptcy?
You don't go to jail? What kind of country is this?
You just have to file a paper and you get to start over?
Yeah, what is this?
And you can stay in your house?
Crazy stuff.
That's crazy. I love America. It's the greatest place ever.
Yeah. In fact, I just read that all of the Catholic churches in the Boston area all of them individually, each parish is getting ready to file their own bankruptcy so they can discharge all their liabilities from priest sex abuse claims.
No. Heretofore, strategic deleveraging.
That's true.
Strategic. It's the word. I am fully convinced it's just the word, because if I called it Biden's fresh start or Trump's fresh start, and then I explained it to somebody, they'd be like, and again, not every single person. Okay, I always like to preface that. We're not just saying everybody needs to file bankruptcy.
No.
Lots of times bankruptcy.
How many bankruptcies does Trump have? Like 6?
Yeah, I don't know, but I'm telling you, it's a marketing issue. It's a branding problem. Bankruptcy's got a branding problem.
Absolutely.
That's what it is. And it's not bankruptcy, it's strategic deleveraging, and it's Biden and Trump's fresh start. And I say them together so that way it's not political.
Right.
I don't care what side you're on.
Right.
It's the same no matter who's the president.
Well, it's, in fact, the U.S. court system refers to it as the fresh start plan. So,
yeah, I think, the funny thing is, I guarantee you, when I'm talking to somebody, if I'm looking at a situation, I'm going, oh, this is just a classic Chapter 7, be the best option for them, bar none. And I explained the program and I called it, there's this new federal fresh start program. And I told them what it would do for them specifically, went through it all.
Sign me up.
Guaranteed. Sign me up. That sounds great. And then as soon as I say, it's called bankruptcy, they're like, whoa,
no. That's a moral failure.
But everything I just said is all true. It doesn't change. The only thing that changes is the name on the paper. The title of the paper is different. And it's like, holy shit, hold up.
I know. But let's talk about the mental struggles that people have, because, I mean, this is real. in my day, when I was doing the personal consults, I actually offered a service. It was called a walk in the woods. And I had people,
With
I
Steve.
had people fly across the country and spend the day with me. And we would just go for a walk and talk through their
Yeah,
situation.
sometimes people go for a walk in the woods and never come out.
No.
I don't know
Mine was good. But it was just, we need to get out of your element. We need to get into something different. We need to just focus on having a conversation. And by the end of those days, people would leave with an entirely different point of view, and they'd feel refreshed and excited about what tomorrow was going to bring. And people don't have that opportunity.
Well, you say it all the time. Debt is nothing but math wrapped in emotion, right? And, anybody listening to this podcast, whenever they're listening, they don't need you and I to say debt is bad. Okay.
Right.
Like everybody knows they should, like there's nobody listening to this going, oh, he's got a good point. I should get out of debt. Why hadn't I thought of that? Like there's nobody going like, oh, an epiphany, right? These guys are so smart. They told me to get out of debt and that makes so much damn sense. No shit, right? Everybody knows the math, right? No, there's nobody that looks at their finances and goes, if I didn't have this credit card debt, I would be better off. Everybody knows they'd be better off, right? So it's you don't need us to tell you to get out of debt. Where everybody trips up is the emotional part of it, is being open to the different options and going immediately to the what about this or what about this? And I'm not saying that's bad as you're gathering information, but the thing that I struggle with the most when speaking with clients in terms of trying to help them is really my main job is to help them overcome the emotions that are getting in their own damn way. That's really the problem.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I don't know if when you were in school, but when I was in school, we had those problems like a train leaves Chicago, but it's almost like a train leaves Chicago with a bunch of passengers on board and can't make it all the way to Chicago. Well, tell the passengers to get off. You don't have to feel bad. It's not a moral failure. The damn train broke down. We just need a different path from where we are right now.
Yeah. See, we always say what a good consultant is somebody that borrows your watch and can tell you the time. Right? It's because I'm not going to say, oh yeah, you need to get out of debt. And you're going to, this guy's a genius, right? It's but what I'm going to do is I'm going to help you take a step back and strip the emotion away from it. And we're emotional creatures. So it's not like we're just emotionless making decisions, but what we have to do is shift, right? The reason why we're prevented from making, and I'm doing air quotes, a smart financial decision is because we're afraid of this, we're afraid of that, or, oh, this is different. I've always done it this way. So what we have to do is take away the scary, right? That's the first thing. Take away the scary. Let's shine the light on all these different options that you have so we can see what they are. We can understand them. We can take away any preconceived notions that you might have, like things like, the knee-jerk reaction of, oh my gosh, if I file bankruptcy, my insurance.
My life is ruined. Oh my God.
Yeah. And it's like, dude, your life is already ruined right now. You're doing a pretty damn good job of that. As it is. I mean, but what you have to do is shift those emotions to then seeing, letting yourself understand what your life could be like if this problem was gone, if the debt was gone, and focus on that emotion, right? Focus on how it would feel for you and your family.
How would you like to be able to breathe?
Massive thing keeping you up at night was gone, because you don't want to argue things in the absolute. Like if, we're talking, and again, we're not pushing, Steve and I aren't bankruptcy attorneys. We don't make any money if you file bankruptcy. All right? That's not our agenda. We got a secret bankruptcy program that we're going to sell you or anything like that, right? We just talk about it a lot because it gets a bad rap, but oftentimes it's not going to be a great solution. It just, for some people it is, for some people it's not. But again, you got to figure that out. There are a lot of other options, but if you are in debt, that is bad. You've got to get out of debt. And we could give you a bajillion examples today, but it really comes down to the emotions around everything. And that's what we want to focus this podcast on today, because if we can kind of peel back the layers and just pause the emotions or set those aside and be open to looking at alternatives and evaluating them for what they are, and then working through those, the preconceived notions and the things that you think might happen. And if I file bankruptcy, my insurance is going to skyrocket. I'm not going to be able to finance a car for 10 years. All these crazy
they're all
things.
myths.
I can tell you most clients, have no clue how it actually works and how their life is actually going to look. The good thing is Steve and I have been through it ourselves, and we've helped, between the two of us, thousands of people
Absolutely.
get on the other side of debt in various ways, right? But get on the other side of it. And we can share with you what your life is going to look like when you're on the other side of it.
And
it is glorious.
I had a client once, and she got really pissed at me. At the end of a 1-hour conversation, she said to me, "What good was this talk? Because the only thing you did was confirm the things that I already knew."
Yeah.
No? It's math wrapped in emotion.
Yeah, it's 100%. And I find that a lot of people, it's, human, brains are funny things, right? The way we do things. And man, I've got so many stories of different scenarios of, I'd be on the other end of the phone and I was like, this is where we're going with this. But I mean, just things like, let's say, we're talking about, the idea that maybe filing bankruptcy makes a lot of sense for, your specific situation. And I'm looking at it and, oh my gosh, chapter 7 is going to save you $100,000. It's going to allow you to start putting money away for retirement right away. It's going to allow you to do all these great things like pretty quick, solve this problem that you've been struggling with for 10 years. And then somebody will immediately jump to, well, yeah, but like I said, my insurance is going to skyrocket. And here's the thing, that may or may not be true.
Mm-hmm.
When I filed bankruptcy, my insurance rates didn't change. Now, sometimes they can. It depends on your circumstances, your insurance company, but you can't argue that in the absolute, right? I mean, people have confirmation bias up the wazoo, right? Where they're always like, well, I'm going to go search for the information that I feel is true, and I'm going to keep searching until I find that information.
Justify my position.
Unless they see, I can't file bankruptcy because I don't want my insurance rate.
Yeah, you're going to discharge 50 grand in debt, and your insurance rates are going to go up $200 a year.
Yeah. Now, that's a good question to pose, right? It's good to know that. So now we unpack it. I think, okay, well, that's a valid concern because it can happen. It's not guaranteed to happen, but it can. Okay, so let's go worst case scenario. If that happened, how much would your insurance possibly go up? $100 a month? Now, at that point, and again, I don't know, $200 a month, $50 a month, nobody knows, right? Now, you might be looking at your cash flow, if you've ever looked at it. that was step number 1. Let's look at the cash flow. And you might go, there's no way I can afford that increase. So therefore, I can't file for bankruptcy or fall behind on my debt so I can negotiate better deals and get out of the debt or whatever it is. But what you're not thinking about, because your brain is kind of shutting down because you're looking at the emotion of it, is, yeah, but even if that was true and you wiped out $100,000 on the other side, you can afford it if the insurance actually went up $50 or $100 or whatever, right? Or they go, well, I won't be able to finance a car right away. Oh, okay.
All right.
Well, that's potentially true, right? You might not be able to file bankruptcy and go down to the car dealership the next month and finance a car. But again, is that worth $100,000? And if you need to finance a car right away, maybe we do it before you file the bankruptcy. I mean, there's ways around problems, but when people are stressed and they're very emotional about it, they only see the problem. They need the consultant to take the watch off your wrist and say, well, actually, if you look at it upside down, we could just go right around this and we can solve that problem. What else you got for me, right? I mean, that's essentially what I do is we work through these problems that people have. Well, if I did this, and that's fine. We go back and forth until they run out of, I almost said excuses, or, in their mind, valid reasons to avoid something. And then they're finally open to, well, okay, well, maybe it's not as bad as I thought. Maybe I'll take a look at it, right? And that's what I want. I just want you to take a look at things. Right? I want you to look at everything.
Well, it's hard for people.
And then we can come up with a plan.
It's hard for people to change their beliefs. If everybody around them and the religious organization and the Dave Ramsey's of the world are all telling you one thing, it becomes ingrained in you, but that doesn't make it true. I mean, here's a somewhat interesting situation. I had a client once who insisted on continuing to tithe at the church, and it was putting him so far behind every month that I asked him, can you go to your church and can you ask them, is there a way for me to volunteer an equivalent amount of services in it? So, because I don't have that money, like, can I be responsible for mowing the church grounds, taking care of landscaping, doing something else that will save you that money, and I can tithe that way? And the person came back and said, the church said, no, you can only tithe to us in money. And it was impossible. I know it was impossible to have that conversation with him at the moment. Like, what does that say to you? Because he was in the belief that whatever the church said was the absolute truth.
There's more than one truth.
Right, exactly. But, it was really, well, I never was able to persuade him on that subject because it was so ingrained in him. There's, as I always say, there's no 6 words I can tell people to radically change their mind.
Yeah. And my thing is too, when I talk with clients, I don't say, look, this is the way you should do it because I said, and this is the way it has to be done. That's absolutely not my job because I'm 100%, my thing is, look, we all get one shot at this life, right? How we choose to spend our time is up to you. Like, so who's to say that, hey, getting out of the debt and every dollar going towards the debt should be the most important thing you should focus on for the next 5 years. And, sacrifice family, sacrifice your kids. Hey, we can't do this, during those last couple years, maybe that you have them in the house before they move out.
Right. Enjoy that time.
So, yeah. So it's not, there's no absolutes. My focus is more on let's take an overall look at the whole situation and let's really start prioritizing what's important to us now and what's going to be important to us in the future.
Yeah, but
and I have a lot of conversations, especially when it comes to parents, because people are much more apt to sacrifice things in their personal life than they are for their kids.
Mhm.
Like if their kids are going to, in their mind, perceive to be suffering for their misgivings or their, issues, they are very reluctant to do it, which I totally understand, which again is why bankruptcy makes a lot of sense because here's the thing, kids probably won't even know you filed for bankruptcy unless you tell them.
Well, that's true.
But it will free up a whole bunch of money that you can use to spoil your kids if that's what you want to do.
The funny thing is the number one thing people should consider is something that nobody will ever think of, which is if you find yourself stressed and feeling all those things that we've been talking about, the number one thing to focus on is just like on the airplane. When the flight attendant says, in case of emergency, put your oxygen mask on first before you put it on the child, because you need to take care of yourself first so that you're there to help those other people. And what people don't realize is the number one thing, we said it's math wrapped in emotion, but the number one thing I've always said to people is the first thing we need to do is take care of you. We need to take care of your mental health. 49% of people in debt are clinically depressed. We need to take care of your thought processes. Debt problems, on average, drop IQ 13 points. We need to take care of your view on life because people with financial problems are 8 times more likely to commit suicide. So we need to take care of you first and put your mask on first. And then the rest of it is academic.
Yeah. Yeah. And a large percentage of my clients are what I call like the sandwich generation, right? Where you're stuck in the middle of, financially helping aging parents and trying to get your kids through college and your future, your retirement, your savings have all taken a back seat to
Mhm.
those two, getting pulled in both of those directions. And even as much as people, I think these days understand that college is not always just the go-to knee-jerk reaction answer, and that maybe not everybody should be going to college, and maybe that might not be a good investment to sign your life away for Parent Plus loans and student loans at $50,000,
Not
$60,000 a year
today.
because that's
No.
what your kid wants to
No.
do. They're still doing it
Yeah.
just because they don't know what to do, and they may be in a financial situation where they're so over leveraged with debt that they don't have any possibility of helping their child go to college except for signing student loans.
Yeah.
And so just that lack of, well, I don't know what else to do. And that, again, that hyperbolic discounting, which is the pain point today is my kid just graduated and they want to go to college. I know consciously that if I sign these student loans, it's going to be a problem. It's going to be a lot of money that we're going to owe in the
Well, that's
future.
down the road.
But that's a future problem, right? And so they're just, because they don't know what else to do and they feel all this pressure from society and everything else. And little Johnny's going to school over here, and, Big Steve is going to school over here, or whatever, right? And so they don't want to disappoint their kid. And so instead of really taking a good, serious look at, well, what are we investing this money in? What does my child want to do? How much is this degree going to cost? Is that a good investment for the family? Because that's essentially what it is.
Well-
most of the time, the parents are the ones. Banks aren't stupid. They don't want to give a whole bunch of money to some 17-year-old kid with no credit score, no track record. They want to hook the parents.
Right. But here's who's
No?
not telling you good advice is the private out-of-state school that is selling your kid a spot for $160,000, whatever it costs for these $200,000. They're not saying, this is a dumb financial move for you. Because if you took the same $60,000 a year and put it in a retirement account now for your 18-year-old child, they would be incredibly well taken care of after you're gone. But
yeah, and not only that, I mean, if for some of us, our kids are already at that age, but if you're maybe on the younger side and your kids are a lot younger and you've got time, if you're spending $1,000 a month servicing debt, $1,500 a month servicing debt, if we can get rid of that debt right now, you could throw that money into a 529
Right.
plan, or even if it's not, there's plenty of vehicles you could put that money into for your kid that you're already spending right now just on servicing debt, putting Jamie Dimon's grandkids through school rather than your own, and then do things in a creative way and actually be able to get your kid an education if that's important to the both of you at the time, without having to take out student loans. I know that's a novel concept, but your future self will thank you for that. And
Yep.
everything comes down to all these things. The common thread is debt. Servicing debt is prohibiting you the ability to have these nice things, to be able to do this. And what we need to do is really start looking at what your life could be today and moving forward without debt. And that's where the emotion turns back on. That's what you need to focus on. That's what you need to get excited about. I talk to my kids all the time about, you never want to have a car payment,
Mm-hmm.
right? I mean, they're all still, my one son is driving now. And my whole thing is, the car payment is one of the biggest wealth killers out there, right?
Especially
and so
today.
I have this concept. Today is just freaking ridiculous. Oh, I need to get a truck. Oh, it's only $110,000. Oh, cool.
Yeah.
I mean, it's nuts. But I've got this concept of setting up a fund, right? And I'm not saying I'm not taking credit for inventing the idea or anything, but think about this and get excited about this. What would your life be like if you never had a car payment again, ever? And think about it. Most people go their whole lives and don't have a car
Mhm.
payment. It's as soon as especially nowadays with 6-year loans, 7-year
8.
loans, it's getting ridiculous. By the time they get done paying off their car, it's almost like they go, well, time for a new car,
Yeah.
and they just roll over negative equity, and they always have a car payment. And I can teach you how to never have a car payment in, 7, 8, 9 years, depending on your situation. Imagine 9 years from now, you never have to make a car payment again. And I'm not talking about just the basic, drive a paid off car and pay the payment to yourself. And then when you save up enough money, you buy the car. Well, that's part of it. But I like to take it a step further. Wouldn't it be nice if you had a fund, an endowment, if you will, that you set up, right? And that fund generates enough money automatically to where every time you end up needing a new car, there's enough money in the fund where you just go pay cash for the car, leaving enough money still in the fund. And 10, 12 years later, when you need the next new car, boom,
it's rebuilt.
You go back in and it's the goose that laid the golden car.
Yeah.
Right. And again, anybody listening to this podcast can do that if you get the hell out of debt. Debt is what's keeping you from, and this is just one example of a car. I mean, you can do it for anything, but I was just running some quick math. I don't know if we have time for me to run through it, Steve.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. So, okay, let's say you've got, I don't know, $25,000 left on your car. Because let's assume everybody is driving a car, listening to this, and currently has a car payment. So how do we get the hell out of that? All right, we got 25 grand, 6%. We're paying, roughly $600 a month. Okay. You got 4.5 years left on that loan, whatever it is. Well, here's what we're going to do. Instead of paying $600, we're going to pay $1,000. Now everybody's going to go, how in the hell am I going to, where am I going to get an extra $400? You got to get the hell out of consumer debt. Okay. Everything starts with get the hell out of consumer debt. You're going to notice a theme on this podcast, things that your life could be if you didn't have the debt. And we got to get to the point where having the debt is scarier to you than the things that you need to do to get out of the debt, right? At a certain point, you become less afraid of bankruptcy or less afraid of settlement and more afraid of what your life is currently and what your life will be in the future because you are not acting. You're just kicking the can down the road, solving problems as they come in day after day. So let's say you're in this situation. We get you out of debt. I don't care how we do it, but we get you out of consumer debt. So then you can afford to say, okay, I want my car endowment. I want the goose that laid the golden car. So now I'm out of this consumer debt. I can afford to throw $1,000 a month at my car instead of 600. Now we're going to pay that car off in a little over 2 years, 27 months. Now here's what we do. The car's paid off in 2 years. Still a great car. You probably only now had it 3 or 4 years. You take care of your car, you should be able to drive almost any car out there for 10 to 12 years at least. Some of them you can even push, 15 or even longer if you really want to. But let's just say 10 to 12 years, you're going to drive a car. That's not crazy. Right now I've got a 2014 Cadillac that I got from my grandfather when he passed, and now my son drives it. And it's a 2014. So what's that? 12 years old. It's only got 130,000 miles on it, and it's still a great car. My son drives it. 22, 23 miles a gallon. I mean, I must say it's a Cadillac XTS. I mean, it's a pretty fancy car for a first vehicle for a kid. I remind him every day how lucky he is to have a car like that. But and again, the car's still great. It's in great shape. Still looks good. It's 12 years old.
Yeah,
and it's nowhere near the end of its life, right? I mean, he might have that car for the next 5 years. I told him, you drive that car until you have enough money to pay cash for the next one. You do not want to finance one. And so what we're going to do now is we're going to take that $1,000 a month that now is freed up in your budget. And what you don't do is say, woo, I have an extra $1,000 a month, party time. You don't do that.
People do that though.
Plowing forward. Oh, people will do that, but they're not going to have the goose that laid the golden car. They're not going to have that endowment fund. That's only for rich people, right? So you take that $1,000 a month and you just invest it. And I'm not going to get into what you should invest in or anything like that. You put it in the market, you get an Acorns account, whatever it is, you put it in the market. Let's say you get a 7% return, which is very conservative, long-term returns. 7% in 7 years at $1,000 a month. And again, your car is 4 years old, 5 years old. In 7 years, your car is going to be 10 to 12 years old. Maybe time to replace it. Maybe it's like my Cadillac. The longer you keep it, the better this gets. But let's say in 7 years, it's given up the ghost. So now it's 12 years old. You've had a paid off car for 7 years. You diligently put that $1,000 a month in. You stayed out of consumer debt so you can afford to do that. Now you know what you got in your fund? You got $109,000. And after 7 years of doing that, 109 grand, right?
Sounds like
Now,
I need to borrow from that.
Do you go buy a new diesel truck?
No.
No, you don't do that. You go in and say, okay, I've got 109,000. You don't go shopping for cars in the $100,000 range. You go in and you go, okay, well, what do I need? Do I need a brand new car? No. And it's amazing how less often you will consider or even think about buying a new car with all of the bells and whistles if you're financing it versus if you're paying cash. Because when you're paying cash, that's a huge pain point. And when you're talking about writing a check for $50,000, you're going to go, oh my God.
Yeah.
Right? But when you go finance it for $50,000, you're just like, oh, it's like $800 a month. Yeah, I can afford that. I've been putting $1,000 a month away for 7 years. I deserve it.
What will my payment be?
You go in, and there's no more payments. You are now your own bank. You don't ever finance a car again. And you go in there and you say, what do I actually need to get from point A to point B? I want to have a nice car. I've been saving all this money. That's fine, right? But you can find a really nice used car, 2-3 years old. I'm not talking about a clunker. Obviously, the more aggressive you are, that's up to you. But go in and look for a car in the $35,000 range. That's not a piece of crap.
Right.
$40,000 range even. Okay, so
buy a car that's 3 or 4 years old. So, the big depreciation hit has already been taken. It's still a new car.
Yeah. So let's say you go pay cash, $35,000 car. Here in Arizona where I'm at, they've got this cool little deal where if you buy a used car, private party, no sales tax on it. That could save you $4,000
that's
right there.
Good deal.
You buy it from a dealer, you got sales tax. You buy it from private party, no sales tax. So now you don't go spend 109, even though you have it. You spend 35, and you go pay cash for the car. Now here's the magic, the magic of the goose that laid the golden car. Now you've been paying $1,000 a month. You've been diligent. You've been killing it. You've been awesome. Now your fund, you bought that car. Your fund is down to $74,000, give or take. Now you can still contribute if you want. Maybe you cut back to $500 a month, or maybe you just leave it alone and you don't contribute anymore. But you've got a 2 or 3 year old car that you can drive for the next 9 or 10 years with no car payment, and you still have $74,000 sitting in the market or wherever you invested it in. Figure out, and these are 7% returns. If it averages 8%, 9%, 10%,
well, the stock market,
the numbers are even better.
Stock market just hit an all-time high yesterday.
Yeah, but now you've got what I would call your own little endowment for your car, and you've got $74,000 seed money at 7% after 10 years. That's going to be about $145,000. 10 years, maybe now that car is 12, 13 years old. Time to go buy another one. Do the same thing now. 10 years from now, 15 years from now, a $35,000 car, as we know, is not going to be the same as a $35,000 car today. So that equivalent $35,000 car is probably going to be $50,000 15 years from now. But that's okay, because you've got $145,000. And remember, you haven't added another dime to this fund in 10 years. You haven't had a car payment now in over 12 years, and you've got as much money as you need. The less you take out, the more and the faster that will grow. And eventually that's going to get big enough where you can start taking money out for other things if you want to.
Now that's all great math, but let me prove to you that it is wrapped in emotion. I'm going to give you the receipts on this because on getoutofdebt.org, you can read all the posts, but I just had a post this week about credit card debt numbers and how credit card debt and housing debt are both accelerating very rapidly. Here's the point that I want to make is since 2011, this is the highest amount of credit card balances people are carrying that are more than 90 days old. So rather than dealing with the situation and getting themselves in a good situation like you just described, the balances are just getting older and people are just kicking the can further down the road.
Yeah, because it's so overwhelming. They don't know how to solve it. So they're like, why am I going to waste time on it? They compartmentalize it, right? And like, well, I'm alive today. I have things today. And so it's easy to push it, but it's going to get worse and worse and worse. And the sooner you get out ahead of it, the better off you're going to be. And what was that other article you wrote, Steve? This ties into it. It was the here it is right here. The credit card number that should scare you isn't the balance, it's the late payment.
Right. It's just growing.
It's how many, you're not alone. How many people in this country right now are drowning in consumer debt, right? And everything's going up. Cars are getting more. And guys, the way to get ahead in life is not to trade time for money until you retire. That's not how you get ahead.
Well, can we quickly run through the your brain on debt quiz on the site?
Debt quiz, yeah, maybe. Steve's got, if you haven't been to the site, getoutofdebt.org. It's tons of articles. I'm talking tens of thousands of articles. Anything you ever wanted to know. Most stuff we talk about on the show is just us looking at some articles that Steve has recently written or written in the past, and we discuss them. But he's got a lot of great free tools on that site. And one of them is your
brain on debt.
Your brain on debt. My screen just like reset and I just got a smiling.
And you can always reach Damon at damonday.com, DAMONDAY.com. Set up a free call with him. He sounds exactly the same way on the phone. So
like a total moron.
But as we wind up this podcast, let's just run through your brain on debt, and it will really solidify what we've been talking about. Do you want me to read you the questions, or do you want to do it and pick the answer that you most commonly hear?
Well, since we have absolutely no script and no plan on this podcast, this is the first time hearing about it. So you tell me what you'd like to do with this free tool.
All right. Do you have it up in front of you? Okay.
I do have it.
So I'll read the question, and then you tell me what the answer is, so I don't have to read them all.
And you want me to act as if I was
the average person that you talk to.
Okay. I'll see if I can do that. Let me try to change my brain. Let me reverse back to 10-year, 15-year, 20-year ago.
Compartmentalize yourself.
All right. Yeah.
When you think about your debt situation, what do you most want right now?
Get out of debt, Steve.
From the answers.
I know. But that's what I get. I'm like, okay, I know that, but you said you want the answer that I most get. I want to get out of debt. Yeah, no shit. I'm right there with you. Okay. So from the answers, there's 4 options to choose from. And again, this is a quiz that's on the site. You can go through it. I'm going to say for most people, it's someone to tell me what to do.
Okay.
Because they're just frozen in fear.
If someone offered you a solution that would make the immediate stress go away, but would cost you more in the long run, what would you do?
I'd probably take it.
All right. How far ahead are you able to think about your finances?
Wrong answer, by the way.
Right now.
Right now, Steve, I'm going week to week if I'm lucky, but mostly day to day.
Okay. When you see an ad that says, "We stop the calls today or reduce your debt immediately," how do you feel?
I used to feel excited, but now I've called so many of those, I realize, oh, hold on, I got to look at your answers.
Yeah.
Curious but skeptical.
Okay. Next section.
Oh, I forgot. I have to click these 2. Shoot. Give me a second. Okay.
Nope.
Next section.
Calculator's broken. Well, I know what I'm doing next.
We do this live.
Crap. Okay. Anyway, by the time you hear this, it'll be fixed on the site. Your Brain on Debt is the new free fixed quiz.
Hey, we're doing live troubleshooting for
Thank you. I appreciate that.
So did you get the same thing? You click next and it doesn't go anywhere?
No.
Oh, yeah. Perfect. All right. Yeah. Well, give us 2 hours. Plot will be on it.
All right. So let's wind this.
Anyway, when it's working, it's a great tool.
Yeah. It'll help you to understand that what you're feeling is normal and you're not alone. And if you want to really get reinforcement that you're not alone, schedule a free call with Damon. DamonDay.com.
Yeah, I think if you've listened to a few podcasts, you'll know I'm not the typical financial advisor. I'm a real dude. It's not just about the money, right? It's about your life. It's about, what's important to you, because we only get one shot at it, right? And sometimes if, suffering a little bit is, what is the most important to you because you're providing something for your kids or whatever, I'm not here to say that's right or that's wrong. That's not my thing. That's your thing. My job then would be like, okay, well, if we're going to go down that path for the next couple years, here's what your life is then going to look like. And then here's what we can do to fix it at that time. And then you decide if that's going to work. If that's okay, that's good. But what we can't do is carry consumer debt long term, because that's the cancer that just grows, right? You get rid of that and your life is full of possibilities, Steve.
Well, on that note, Damon, I will see you.
Steve doesn't like to edit anything very long. Peace.